This happened back in 1998 when Emily, a university student, decided to spend her semester break at her grandparents' farmhouse in rural Wisconsin. The house was very old and sat at the edge of a forest. Her grandparents had passed away years ago, and the house remained mostly untouched. Emily had fond memories of the place from her childhood, like playing in the cornfields, chasing fireflies, and hearing ghost stories told by her grandfather beside the fireplace. When she arrived, she stood there alone. The farmhouse felt cold and unwelcoming. Nothing like the happy vibes she used to feel there when she was younger. Her first day and night at the farmhouse passed quickly. She spent it unpacking, cleaning the dusty furniture, and organizing old family relics. After a bit of cleaning up and adding her own touch to the place, things started to feel a bit more cozy. She spent the next few days trying to relax and taking in the fresh country air. The time seemed to fly by. Everything was normal until one evening, when Emily was curled up on the couch reading a book, she started hearing a scratching sound. At first, she dismissed it as a tree branch, scraping against the side of the house. The wind outside had picked up, and it blew leaves around on the porch. But then the sound grew louder, like nails dragging against wood. It was coming from the direction of the back door. She paused to listen more intently. Her eyes glanced toward the hallway that led to the kitchen. The back door was locked and dead-bolted. She stayed quiet, and the scratching sound persisted. After a couple minutes, she reluctantly rose from the couch, her stomach tightening with a sense of dread. She slowly made her way down the hallway, and when she reached the kitchen, she flipped on the light. The back door was definitely secured, and everything looked as it should. But as she stood there, another sound caught her ear. It was the sound of footsteps, slow and heavy, coming from upstairs. Emily froze. No one was supposed to be here. She was alone, and the nearest neighbor was miles away. Her heart raced as she grabbed a flashlight from a kitchen drawer and cautiously moved toward the staircase. The sound of footsteps continued above her, as if someone was pacing back and forth in the upstairs hallway. She called out and asked if anyone was up there, but was met with total silence. Emily felt a chill run down her spine, but began her slow ascent up the stairs. The hallway at the top of the stairs was lit by a single bulb, so it wasn't very bright. She pointed the flashlight down the hallway, but nothing appeared out of place. Just the closed doors to the guest rooms and her grandparents' old bedroom at the far end. But as she stood there, the footsteps returned, this time louder, and they were coming from her grandparents' bedroom. She could see that the door was slightly open, and she stared at it with an uneasy feeling. A sense of overwhelming dread washed over her as she felt like something was watching her from inside the room. After standing there for a moment, Emily ignored the urge to run and started to move toward the door. As she pushed the door the rest of the way open, the light lit up parts of the room, revealing familiar furniture like the old wooden bed and the large wardrobe in the corner. But there, sitting in the old rocking chair near the window, was the faint outline of a dark figure. Emily screamed, nearly dropping the flashlight. Her mind raced to make sense of what she was seeing. The figure was swaying slowly back and forth in the chair. Paralyzed by fear, she stood frozen in the doorway, staring at the dark figure. And then, as if sensing her presence, the figure stopped rocking, and for a moment there was complete silence. Then all of a sudden, without warning, the shadowy figure rose from the chair and began to move toward her. Emily stumbled backward, then turned and bolted down the hallway. She could hear the footsteps behind her that sounded like they were getting closer. She ran to the front door, fumbling with the lock, her hands shaking uncontrollably. The footsteps stopped just behind her, but she didn't turn around. She yanked the door open and sprinted out the house, not stopping until she was halfway down the long gravel driveway. When she stopped and looked back at the house, the upstairs window, where her grandparents' bedroom was, glowed faintly like the light was switched on, and there, standing near one side of the window, was the shadowy figure, watching her. Emily didn't go back inside the house that night, and the next morning, she returned with the local sheriff. She told him everything about the sounds, the figure, the footsteps, but after a thorough search, there was no sign of anyone else having been in the house. The doors and windows were all locked from the inside, and nothing was disturbed. But Emily knew what she had seen. After the sheriff left, Emily decided she would leave the farmhouse that day and never return. It was put on the market months later and snapped up by an unsuspecting family. Every now and then, Emily can't help but wonder if the new owners ever experienced anything unnatural like she did.